Alrighty, so it's time to look at the last 6 games as part of the second part of this review for this week's midweek action around MLS. And yesterday I talked about how there was definitely some surprising result in terms of some of these games, and we will basically left off where we picked off with another surprising game that I'm reviewing, which is Houston versus FC Dallas. Now, Houston winning 2-0 against Dallas on paper doesn't seem like a big surprise, but considering the fact that the Dynamo has been struggling this season and Dallas has been kind of on a hot run, and not to mention the fact that the Dynamo actually played an entire second half with just 10 men in this game, it's pretty surprising the fact that the Dynamo was still able to come out with a 2-0 victory and were able to score one of their 2 goals despite the fact that they were down to 10 men in this. And partially the reason why the Dynamo eventually got this 2-0 win is because Dallas, they just looked like they ran out of ideas in terms of how to put the ball into the back of the net. And Marko Maric probably had his best game with the Houston Dynamo in this one. Now, 3 minutes in, Ricarte almost gave Dallas the opening goal when he, of course, hit the post. Then Maric was able to rob Barrios in the 9th minute, as it looked like it was all Dallas early on in this Texas derby. But then Quintero in the 14th minute hits the post, but he would not be denied in the 19th minute when Quintero was able to score from Ariel Lassiter to give the Dynamo a 1-0 lead. I mean, this was a gift from Dallas because of a poor giveaway where the Dynamo capitalized on Dallas' mistake and take a 1-0 lead 19 minutes into the game. Now, in the 27th minute, Ricarte almost had a goal and almost gave Dallas the opener. And I'll tell you what, if this one actually went in, we talk about how the Gonzalo Higuain free kick yesterday might be the one that could potentially win goal of the week. But if this one went in, when Ricarte basically decided to chip Maric from the halfway line, if this went in, that would definitely give a lot of competition to Higuain's free kick, because it's not every day you see a guy decide to score from the halfway line, and he almost did that, and that Maric almost got caught from coming off, from basically off his lines way too much, and then he was just able to get back to tip that one over. Then Manotas, of course, got a straight red, and actually VAR had to check to see whether or not if Manotas' tackle was supposed to be a straight red instead of a yellow that originally was called, and it was the right call. The fact that it was pretty clear that Manotas goes with a studs up challenge, and when you decide to do that, yeah, that is always going to be an automatic red card. So Houston was down to 10 men in this game, and knowing the fact that Dallas, they had their moments in the first half to score in this game, you would think in the second half eventually they're going to get that goal. And that in the second half, as I said, Dallas, they were really pushing for the equalizer. Maric was able to deny Jara from the header in the 68th minute, but as the game continues to go on, you can also start to see that Dallas was really start to run out of ideas, and they kind of felt like this was just not going to be their day, and that they're not going to be able to score a goal with the lack of finishing, and Marko Maric just stood on his head in this game. Now, in the 77th minute, Maurer actually robbed Hansen as Dynamo had a rare counter-attacking chances, but despite the fact that Maurer did make a big save on Nico Hansen, Hansen was actually brought down by Brian Reynolds as he was about to take the shot. They go to VAR to see whether or not if it was a penalty, and it was, which Darwin Seren was able to put this one away. And originally, it was supposed to be Christian Ramirez that was going to be take this shot, but because he was injured prior to the play, and even though he eventually kind of got up and was ready to take the penalty, the referee said, no, you're not allowed to take the penalty because you were injured during the play, and when you, of course, go down with an injury, you unfortunately have to go off the field for it at least a minute or two just to see if you, of course, are okay, and that you can only be allowed to back on the pitch if the referee decide that is the case. So Darwin Seren was the one that steps up, and for a guy that don't take penalty, that was actually a very decent penalty that he was able to hit to give the Dynamo a 2-0 lead. And that point, yeah, Dallas, they pretty much just feel super kind of not only frustrating but kind of just inflated with the way that they had so many chances of trying to get the equalizer, and now the fact that they're down 2-0, it looked like all hopes of potentially salvaging a draw in this Texas derby was lost because of that second goal. But yeah, in terms of shots in this game, Dallas had 28 shots compared to 11 that Houston has. 8 shots on goal compared to 6 that Houston has. 11 shots off target compared to 4 that Houston has. 9 shots on block compared to 1 that Houston has. And possession-wise, 71% possession compared to 29% possession that Houston has. And the Dynamo, this is a gutsy win for a team that has been on a very bad run lately, and hopefully maybe this will kick off something good to see for them in the next couple of games. And for Dallas, they need to, of course, move on from this result and look to try to be better in the next game against Minnesota this weekend. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is NYCFC versus DC United, and we know that there was always going to be one winner in this game, which, of course, was NYCFC, although early on it looked like it was kind of a penalty kick fest early in this game because the referee actually called 3 penalties in this. 2 of them came in the first 15 minutes, and the first 2 I thought was very controversial because the first one, which Castellanos was able to put away, he was actually the one that, of course, was brought down by Julian Gressel. But knowing the fact that Tati Castellanos has the history of just kind of go down way too early, I was kind of surprised the referee kind of bought into the fact that he definitely looked like he went down on the ground way too early in that instant, and that, you know, NYCFC was pretty fortunate that they, of course, got that penalty. But as the old saying goes, what comes around will always go around, and karma will always come back to bite you. And for Castellanos, 9 minutes later, karma did hit him because DC would get a penalty after it looked like he handballed it. And when I look on the replay, yeah, that was kind of a tough call because it definitely didn't look like one that I would think that Castellanos actually hit the ball off of his outstretched arm. But as I said before, you know, earlier, that probably shouldn't have been a penalty for NYCFC, and that he basically kind of sold the fact that he, of course, won his team a penalty, and it's kind of only fair the fact that karma hits him back, and that a tough call on him will have to go against him there. But Kamara was able to put away the penalty to tie the game up at 1 apiece, but that was really the only good opportunity that DC really had for majority of the game. As NYCFC, they were definitely looking to try to retake the lead. There was a scramble in the box in the 17th minute, but NYCFC couldn't quite finish despite the fact that they had 3 golden opportunity from that little scramble in the box. Then Hamid was able to rob Castellanos in the 27th minute as we had to halftime 1-1 in this game. Now in the second half, this is when NYCFC once again pushed forward for the go-ahead goal, and this time they show a little bit more clinical finishing. And in the 55th minute, we once again had another penalty, and that this one was actually a penalty because as actual Schubert was diving on the ground, you can clearly see he basically just put his outstretched arm so far away that when the ball hits that outstretched arm, you know that obviously is going to be a penalty, which Tajuri Shradi was able to put away to make it 2-1 in favor of NYCFC. But eventually it would be 3-1 in favor of NYCFC as Tajuri Shradi would score another one in the 63rd minute from Tinnerholm and Castellanos. And at that point, I thought DC looked down and out, and that it looked like they were pretty much out of this game, while NYCFC, they were definitely not showing any mercy, and they want to get that 4th goal. Tajuri Shradi almost got a hat-trick in the 67th minute, but unfortunately his shot just skimmed the post before they did get the 4th goal in the 88th minute when Keaton Parks was able to score from Forensen to give NYCFC a 4-1 lead. I believe that's Forensen's first ever assist in MLS, so congratulations to him for that achievement. But again, NYCFC was not satisfied for a 4th one, and they almost had a 5th one just 1 minute later when Hamid had to deny Castellanos, who himself could have had a hat-trick in this game with the way that he got robbed a couple of times by Bill Hamid. Then 1 minute later, Hamid would deny Keaton Parks his 2nd goal, but on the follow-up, Hamid did allow a juicy rebound right to James Sands. And I know James Sands obviously is a defender, and usually when you're a defender in that situation, you're definitely get a little bit too overexcited. The fact that you find yourself wide open and basically puts it into the back net. But that being said, he probably should have scored that one. Like, that was just kind of an open net that he had from 4 yards out, and I have no idea how he wasn't able to put that one away, but instead skimmed the post. But either way, despite that bit of a horror miss, NYCFC still walked out with a 4-1 victory. Shots in this game, 31 shots compared to 9 that DC had. 12 shots on goal compared to 3 that DC had. 6 shots off target compared to 1 that DC had. 14 shots on block compared to 5 that DC had. And possession-wise, 72% possession compared to 28% possession that DC United has. And for DC, at least the good news coming out of this game, or just something that came out a couple of minutes ago, is that Ben Olsen is no longer the head coach of this team, as the assistant head coach is going to be taking control of this team, which I thought it was going to be Pt.2, the one that was going to take in charge of this team, but I believe the other assistant head coach, which I forgot what was his first name, but his last name was Ashton, the one that was going to be taking place that spot. And you wonder, there's been a lot of discussion with, now that Ben Olsen is no longer the head coach for DC United, would Higuain be the one that is going to be stepped up as the next head coach for DC United? Because, he has always have a lot of desire to potentially be a head coach, and that he's already been kind of a player head coach under Ben Olsen's staff when he joined DC. So it'll be interesting to see if that is going to be the case, or will DC decide to look elsewhere in terms of finding their next head coach. But either way, I'm pretty sure DC United fans are rejuvenated. The fact that after years of them calling Ben Olsen to be out of this team, and that finally today is the moment where Ben Olsen is no longer the head coach for DC United. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is an ugly game between SKC versus Chicago. And the reason why I say it was ugly is because there wasn't really a lot of chances by either of these teams, but in the end, SKC was able to just have one magical moment to able to sneak out a 1-0 victory. And for the Chicago Fire, yeah, this was always going to happen. Like, they were due for a loss with the way that the fact that it's too good to be true that the Chicago Fire would go on a consistent runs for once. But this game also kind of sums up the fact that despite the fact that they lost this game, they had some golden opportunity to at least get a goal in this, and they probably should have got one just 2 minutes into the game. After 24 seconds into it, Melia actually brought down Herberts down in the box, but Melia, to his credit, did make amends by denying Beric on the penalty, and I really thought that, in that penalty kick that Beric took, I thought, as much as Melia has been a very good penalty kick stopper, probably the best in the league, I thought Beric was going to be favorites because he's been red hot so far this season. But credit to Melia making an amends and once again proved why he is probably the best penalty kick stopper in the league right now. But after that, I thought SKC started to kind of gain control of the game. Johnny Russell had a shot that was clear off the line by Madron before, right on the stroke of halftime, Chicago had another big opportunity to get the opening goal, but Mihailovic, who went through on goal, just couldn't quite chip that one into the back, and it actually hit the post there, and we head to halftime 0-0 between both of these teams. Now in the second half, just like the first half, where, despite the fact that I mentioned those 2 chances, that was really the 2 best chances we had in the entire first half, other than the fact that it was really a very boring second half with very little or boring first half with very little chances. Second half was kind of the same, where there wasn't really much that was going until the 67th minute when Winston Reid was able to score from Johnny Russell. And that was definitely some questionable marking from the Chicago Fire. Like, that leading Winston Reid kind of wide open there near the back post was definitely a little bit question in terms of the Chicago Fire defense. But SKC won't care, as they got that moment that they've been wanted to have in this game and got a 1-0 lead. SKC did have a couple more chances to potentially kill this game off, but they cannot do so. One of those chances came in the 79th minute when Shuttleworth was able to deny Shelton, and then as that ball bounced right back to Shelton, or actually as he basically shot that one, he kind of decided to go with a little bit of a dive, and yeah, that obviously is going to be simulation, and this is one of the rare times the referee decided to hand out a yellow card, which kind of makes me wonder, if you have referee that decide to hand out yellow card for simulation like that, and that one was pretty obvious, and I'm pretty sure Kyrie Shelton is going to get a call from the disciplinary committee, and that he's probably going to get fined for that. Why aren't more refs decide to do that when there's just numerous times where we have seen players that kind of decide to do some simulation in the box to win a penalty, and numerous times the referee just don't actually give the player a yellow card. But credit to this ref that the fact that he did give Shelton a yellow card with a clear dive in the box. By the way, that was the final action of this game as SKC was able to win 1-0 and walk out 1-0 victors. 13 shots compared to 10 that SKC had in this game. 3 shots on goal compared to 3 for the Chicago Fire. 6 shots off target compared to 5 that the Chicago Fire has. 4 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Chicago Fire has. And possession-wise, 43% possession compared to 57% possession. And again, this was really an ugly game by both of these teams, and that it was just one of those games where the team that had one magical moment was going to win the game, and in the end, SKC was the one to be able to do that. But obviously for SKC, you can clearly see that they once again dearly miss Polito in their starting 11, and it just seemed like when they don't have Polito in their starting 11, this attack looked absolutely toothless with the way that they also miss a couple of big chances to kill this game away. But moving on, in terms of the next match, is another kind of ugly game between the Seattle Sounders versus RSL, and another game that the home side was able to win, a relatively ugly one. Although the Sounders, early on, they almost got the opening goal, and Morris actually scored this one in 24 seconds, but unfortunately the linesman raised his flag, and the goal, of course, was disallowed because of that. But other than that, that was really the only opportunity we had early on, as it was kind of very sloppy from both of these teams, where both of them just cannot create anything going forward on the attack. And at the next chance that actually come in this game ends up into the back of the net, because in the 28th minute, when the second big chance for the Seattle Sounders came in this one, they were able to put this one in, and it would be Jordan Morris, the one who had his goal disallowed early, that ends up on the score sheet from Rodon and Lidero, and Seattle has a 1-0 lead up to that point. Now, RSL did try their best in terms of getting the equalizer, and I probably should have wrote try with a quotation mark, because really they didn't had a lot of chances either way, and that probably the best chance they had was in the 43rd minute when Tay Schmidt did try to hit one from a volley and kind of want to score a banger from about 23 yards out, but unfortunately he hits that one just wide, as the Sounders have a 1-0 lead heading into the second half. Now in the second half, this is when the Sounders started to have some opportunity that for the majority of the first half they didn't necessarily got. Rodon probably should have scored from 6 yards out after a beautiful delivery from Nico Ladero, who was definitely on his game in this one, but unfortunately Rodon wasn't able to put away. Then Ladero delivered another great cross into the box, where Bruin did met this cross, but Putnell with an incredible save to keep this one at 1-0. But unfortunately, Putnell was not going to save the shot from Yamar, who once again, Seattle got a wide open look in the 6-yard box. And when you give wide open look for a very good team, yes, maybe they might messed it up 1 or 2 times, but if you're going to do that for the 3rd time, you are definitely going to punish. And this was the case where, once again, beautiful ball from Ladero from the free kick delivered to Yamar, who this time he makes no mistake, puts this one into the back of the net to double Seattle's advantage. Although RSL did score a goal, and it was kind of an unfortunate sequence for the Seattle Sounders, because Nuhu, who I'm pretty sure he's kind of one of the fan favorites, and they always kind of want him to eventually score a goal. Well, he did score a goal in this. The problem is he puts it into his own net, and that RSL were back into this game. And as the game goes on, I thought Seattle looked like they would just kind of bunker and try to seal this one out against a struggling RSL attack. And as much as I know there's going to be some Sounders fans are not happy with what Schmetzer decided to just kind of shut down shop, the fact that the game was still up for grabs. Knowing the fact that this RSL attack just had nothing going whatsoever, I feel like this was the right decision to do that, and especially with the way that the Sounders have a lot of games coming up. You know, they want to conserve their energy a little bit before the next couple of games goes, and that in the end, the Sounders were able to win 2-1 in this one. And the shots in this game, both teams had 7 shots in this game, 3 shots on goal compared to 0 that RSL had. Both teams had 4 shots off target, no shots that was blocked compared to 3 that RSL has. And possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that RSL has. And again, overall, not a vintage Seattle Sounders performance, but they get the 3 points that they were expected to get against an RSL team that, yeah, there's really not a lot of hope in terms of this team that have just really struggled for the past couple of weeks. But moving on, in terms of the next match, and you know how in the last 2 games I talked about how it was kind of ugly and boring to watch for the neutral? Well, the next game I'm going to talk about is the craziest game of this midweek action, and this, if you are neutral, you definitely enjoy this game because virtually no defense was playing in this game between the Galaxy and the Portland Timbers. And that this game kind of also just sums up and put a cherry on the top of why the Galaxy are just imploding in these last 5 games, and now that their losing streak is up to 5 games. Now, early on, the goal-scoring party started in the 14th minute when Felipe Mora was able to score from Jimmy Chara and Diego Chara. So this is, I think, the first time ever that both Chara brothers are able to be on the assist chart, because we already saw how one Chara brother was able to score a goal from another Chara brother that assisted this one, but this is probably the first time that both of them actually ends up onto the assist chart. Before the Timbers doubled that lead in the 22nd minute when Abobasi was able to score a wonderful free kick, and that's actually the first time he has actually scored a free kick in his career, and what a wonderful one that one, of course, was taken. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Galaxy was expecting Valeri the one to strike that, but Ibobasi actually kind of surprised them, and instead of kind of surprising them by knowing the fact that he probably won't hit that one on target or score that one because he has never scored a goal from a free kick, yeah, they were proven wrong, and then he actually hits it into the back of the net, and the Timbers had a 2-0 lead up to that point. But the Galaxy did respond in the 34th minute, and Araujo scored an absolute banger in this goal. I mean, there was some very nice goal that was scored in this game, and a couple ones that is definitely going to be in contention for goal of the week. Araujo one is one of them, where he basically scored a banger from about 21 yards out to give the Galaxy a goal back and some life in this game. And they almost tied it up in the 40th minute when Bonilla was the hero in this, as he not only cleared the ball once in this instant, but he also cleared it twice in this attacking sequence. And that the Timbers, they were very lucky, the fact that they are not drawing heading into halftime. And it looked like we were once again seeing a Timbers team that throughout this season, one of the things that they really struggle is to try to close out both halves, where they have conceded so many goals in the last 15 minutes of both halves. Now, in the second half, the Timbers would get that third goal, and it would be Valeri the one that makes it 3-1, and it would also kicked off what would be just a frantic second half, where there was just goals score pretty much every 5 minutes, and it was kind of back and forth and back and forth. But before that, there was no penalty given to the Galaxy after it looked like Valeri handballed it, and I thought that probably should have been a penalty because it definitely looked like Valeri handballed it. But the good news for the Galaxy is that just a couple of seconds later, after a controversial call gone against them, Ethan Zubak scores from Pavone to make it 3-2 in this game, and all of a sudden the Galaxy looked like they were back in this one and maybe have the momentum until the Timbers would make it 4-2. And this time it would be Felipe Mora that scores from Villafania and Chara. Before it was 5-2 in favor of the Portland Timbers when Mabiela was able to put away and equal the same scoreline that we saw a couple of years ago when the Timbers were able to beat the Galaxy 5-2 in this game. But unlike that matchup a couple of years ago, there would be more goals that would be scored in this one. And it would be Pavone, the one that would be next in terms of adding into the long list of goals scored in this game. When he scored in the 70th minute, I thought Steve Clark probably should have saved that one because while Pavone definitely did hit that shot decently, Clark did kind of get a hand into that save, but unfortunately he kind of deflected into the back of the net. But that does give the Galaxy once again hope, the fact that maybe things are going to turn around for them, and knowing the fact that, again, the Timbers, they struggle in terms of trying to close games out and have dropped a lot of resort because of the fact that they can't close out games. Maybe there's going to be a situation where this game could easily end 5-5, but unfortunately the Timbers basically shut up all that doubt in the 80th minute when Mbobisi scores his second goal from Williamson to make it 6-3 in this game and make it kind of like a Roland Garros score in this game, with the way that the Timbers ultimately win 6-3 against the Galaxy. And the shots in this game, 17 shots compared to 10 that the Timbers had, 5 shots on goal compared to 7 that the Timbers had, 10 shots off target compared to 3 that the Timbers had, 2 shots that was blocked compared to none that the Timbers had, and possession-wise, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that the Galaxy had. And for the Galaxy, yeah, again, this pretty much just sums up in terms of the implosion that they have had in these last couple of games, and that their losing streak is now up to 5. And I know there's going to be some people that's going to say, well, Chicharito is probably one of the main reasons why the Galaxy lost this game. First of all, Chicharito did not play in this game, and I don't recall that Chicharito can actually play defense for this team, because I'm not going to blame the attack for the reason why the Galaxy lost in this game. The attack definitely did enough in terms of giving the Galaxy a chance to win this. And anytime when you score 3 goals in a game, most of the time you should be able to get all 3 points. The problem is, it's the defense. I mean, we always talk about how the Galaxy defense is just hot garbage, and I know it's becoming kind of like almost like a meme and a cliche right now, but it's true. I mean, this defense was just absolutely hot garbage tonight, and it just feel like they didn't even show up whatsoever in this game against the Portland Timbers. So yeah, this team looked like it's going through a downward spiral, and definitely there's a lot of Galaxy fans are not only calling the heads of Guillermo Barros-Schelotto, but also calling the heads in terms of some of the front office people for this Galaxy team. Whereas for the Portland Timbers, yes, this was an impressive win on the road, but the defense need to fix up, and the fact that once again this was another game where they easily could have let one slip if they decided to of course give up goal in the last 15 minutes, and thankfully at least they didn't do it in the second half, unlike in the first half where they definitely looked like they were going classic Timbers from this season with the way that they were giving up goals once again and looked absolutely destroyed, at least in the last 15 minutes of the first half. But moving on, in terms of the next match, and actually the last game of this weekend's action, or not weekend's action, but the midweek action. So you know how yesterday I finished part 1 of the video where I talked about one of the least surprising result with the Philadelphia Union winning 3-0 against FC Cincinnati? Well, in part 2, I'm doing the same thing, because we are once again going to talk about the last game of this video by talking about how the Quakes got a very easy 3-0 win against the Vancouver Whitecaps, and probably one of the least surprising result you're supposed to see. And just like yesterday, how the Union was able to get 3 goals, and that they kind of had to wait a little bit before they can actually get the first goal. It was the same case for the Quakes too, where they had to wait until the second half where they eventually get that first goal. But unlike in the Union versus FC Cincinnati game, the Quakes did kind of get a little bit benefit the doubt that Vancouver basically just imploded in the second half with getting a couple of red cards. Now, in the first half, the Quakes did look decent early, but I thought they once again lacked some final third product that potentially could have got them the opening goal. And while they of course lacked those quality in the final third, the defense for the most part was okay, except for corners defending. I mean, set piece defending for the Quakes throughout this year has been a huge issue, and it showed up once again in this one when Andy Rose probably should have scored this one from the header, but JT Marcinkowski with an incredible save to deny Rose of a header. But again, the Quakes defending from the set piece and especially from corner was just very sketchy in this game and could have went down 1-0 in this. I mean, at least the good news for the Quakes in this game is that at least they kept a clean sheet against Vancouver and didn't actually gave up a goal inside 10 minutes. Like, the first thing I was hoping coming into this game isn't just that the Quakes can get off to a fast start, but I was praying the fact that they don't give up a goal inside 10 minutes. And once they didn't decide to do that, I was kind of a little bit relieved, and now I can focus on the fact that the Quakes are going to try to get that opening goal. And they almost did it in the 31st minute when Espinoza actually went through on goal, and I feel like he clearly should have put this one away when he decided to chip Evan Bush here, but unfortunately his chip just goes over the bar. Then Judson also had a one-on-one opportunity, but he just puts it wide off the mark, and we head to halftime 0-0 between the Quakes and the Whitecaps. And again, it's frustrated the fact that the Quakes had some big chances to score in the first half and they couldn't put it away. And if you're the Whitecaps, you know, maybe this might be a little bit different than the Seattle resort where they just imploded in the second. No. Espinoza would finally get the opening goal for the Quakes in the 50th minute when he scored from Nick Lima to make it 1-0 in favor of the Quakes. Then Rose, of course, got his second yellow card and gets sent off in the 51st minute before Rios, who basically sickly give a big FU to me when he scored from Fierro and Tommy Thompson to give the Quakes a 2-0 lead. By the way, if you don't know why I mentioned that Rios give me a big FU to me, is because I have been a very heavy critic in terms of Andy Rios, and I've been always calling out that he is clearly not good enough, and that in some way I'm kind of a hater in terms of him, and he's probably one of my most disliked player for the Quakes. But I guess he basically silenced me in this game, at least for this one, with him scoring a goal to make it 2-0 in favor of the Vancouver Whitecaps. Then the Whitecaps went down to 9 men after Godoy, of course, got sent off. Now, I feel like this probably shouldn't have been a straight red, because while there was kind of some evidence that Godoy did kind of puts his hands into the face of Jackson Yule, it definitely looked like Jackson Yule kind of sold it a little bit, and he kind of went down like he probably just got sniped and just kind of holding in his face, and immediately the referee reached out the red card and kind of just got fooled by the fact that Jackson Yule just sold that one. But either way, you know, I guess maybe that makes up for what happened last week when clearly Corona should have been sent off with that red card. And yes, I know I said before I'm kind of over with it, but when I saw that moment, it was hard for me to not mention it again, because that was just so egregious, and that moment is just one that it's hard to kind of get over it, especially when you're facing against a big rival like the Galaxy. But coming back into this game, you know, once the Whitecaps were down to 9 men, I knew the game was over. And, you know, when we scored that second goal, I feel like the game was pretty much over with the way that the Whitecaps are pretty much just down and now. And now the question is, can the Quakes get that third goal? And they almost did in the 85th minute when Evan Bush was able to rob Cow, who basically just gone through the entire Whitecaps defense. And it's not like he made some incredible moves to go by that Whitecaps defense. That defense just looked like they just gave up and just allow him to kind of take an easy shot. But Evan Bush were kind of the only player that did not give up and able to make a big save to keep this one at 2-0. Before it was 3-0 in favor of the Quakes, and for the second week in a row, one of our fullback got their first ever MLS goal, and this time it was Paul Marie getting his first ever MLS career goal from Tommy Thompson to make it 3-0 in this game. I thought both fullbacks was amazing in this one, not only with Marie getting a goal, but I thought Tommy Thompson, who was coming in for Marcos Lopez, who's now on international duty with Peru, was very decent in this game, and also getting on the assist chart twice in this one. But yeah, that was the final score of this game, as the Quakes would win 3-0. And the shots in this one, 17 shots compared to 7 that Vancouver has, 8 shots on goal compared to 5 that Vancouver has, 6 shots off target compared to 2 that Vancouver has, 3 shots out of block compared to none that Vancouver has, and possession-wise, 66% possession compared to 34% possession. And you know, as much as I know the Quakes have won 3 in a row, and now they are back into playoff position as they have now moved up into 7th place, I'm still not sold on this Quakes team. And the reason why I'm still not so on this team is that when you look at these 3 games, these are against very relatively easy opponent. The LAFC game might be an outlier, but again, I thought that was a very fortunate result. And then the last 2 games against the Galaxy and the Whitecaps are 2 of the worst teams in the Western Conference. The next game against the Portland Timbers on the road will be a very, very good telling tale of whether or not if this is just false hope that I'm seeing in these last 3 games, or the fact that yes, this team look like they are looking to try to make for playoff contention, and just something in my heart say that this is still kind of false hope, and the fact that just seeing how the Timbers just getting absolutely destroyed against the Galaxy, that is something that, you know, if we play like this against the Whitecaps, I just feel like it's still not good enough to beat the Portland Timbers, especially the fact that, again, the defensive wise, especially from corners, were very, very, very sketchy, and that knowing the fact that the Timbers are a team that have those goals scored that can punish you in terms of those set pieces and from the corners, that's what makes me worry about that next game. And also, not to mention the fact that the Quakes have never won against the Portland Timbers when they play them on the road. So yeah, we shall see how that, of course, is going to go, and that, again, that next game could be a really big telling tale of whether or not if this Quakes are truly back into being playoff contenders. But until then that is pretty much it for all the game that I have reviewed. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of all 6 of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.